Yes. Yes, that's going to be a good audio
That's what we're talking about.
So we're going to jump right into it. Jack here just switched from Mathews to Hoyt. That could cause a fight in a lot of circles. Why did you switch?
Well, I ran a Mathews. I started off with the, what was it? The Vertex, and I really liked that bow. But I almost felt like they were too forgiving. Like the back wall, it would always creep a little bit, and I didn't like that. I tried shooting a Hoyt, and first time I ever drew back, it was just like boom, right there, and it just held right there. It was really, really hard. And yeah, I liked it. I sold my old bow and then bought the Hoyt, and I'm never looking back. So
no more Mathews.
No more Mathews.
Not a Mathews guy.
Well, I don't have anything against the Mathews. They're great bows, but I feel like it's all just personal preference and kind of just try whatever you feel like. I mean, try whatever you want, and then you'll find something that works eventually, and then stick with it.
Facts.
Yeah.
I am a Valley guy, though. What he's talking about. I agree. I've shot Mathews quite a few times, and they're elite, really nice bows. Mm-hmm. But I agree. I mean, if you relax at all, they're wanting to come forward, and like the Bowtex, the Hoyts, they don't do that, which I prefer. A lot of guys do like that creep feel.
Right.
Personally, not my favorite.
Right.
But I mean, I think about it. If you're hunting, it's like real cold out or something. And what if you're in a tree and you're holding a draw for a full minute or something, waiting for that buck to step around, and then somewhere in there he cams on you. Which I had that once. I had a bull coming in 2018, the only bull I have mounted. I drew back, he stopped behind a tree, I held it, and that experience just ripped my arm off. Thankfully, right then he took a step or something, so he didn't hear it, and I still ended up getting him. But that right there is an example, I think, of why you might not want that creep.
Yeah. Cam Hanes had nothing to do with it?
No, nothing.
I was just curious.
Nothing. Why? Because of the shorts? Is that why you're asking me?
Cam a legend with the short. His whole look. I always watch him and I'm like, this guy has that cool factor.
He's
just way cooler than... he can do anything. Get in his truck, just an average thing, but he does it way cooler than if I were to get in his truck, it wouldn't be as cool.
Yeah, you'd bump your knee or something.
100%. I don't know why people have that cool factor, but I don't. I have it like very minimal. Very mid.
Yeah, but less.
Yeah.
Brianna looking good. She got her Zen beanie, Zen rewards.
Yeah, I just figured, there was a bunch of hats going on, so I was like, I guess I better just, put a hat on. But
it is October.
Not? I know. I mean, it might be 85 outside right now, but
for a girl, it's about time to go to a pumpkin patch and get some pictures for Instagram.
Got another week. One more week.
Yeah. For all the dogs.
Yeah.
So what up?
What up?
First time on the pod. How you feeling?
It's good. It's cool to see, the next addition to Bowdisciples. Been here more or less, well, not from the beginning, that'd be you and your dad, but
Me and Nick, technically.
Yeah. That's true.
From the OG.
That's true, way back.
Technically, but
more or less from the beginning.
Matt was probably the third dude ever in the videos, other than me, Nick, Ted, and you were probably right there, third place. It's pretty cool.
Was that before or after the scooter edits?
After. If you guys want to see some banger content, go watch the scooter videos. And there's gonna be a sequel.
He's asked for Scooter for Christmas 2 years.
I want a Scooter. Yes.
No, it needs to come back.
It does. It
had a lot of viewership back then. Relatively speaking.
Maybe now. Yeah. 300 views. Woo! We cranked them. So we got the BD merch, by the way, new merch. This here's the light olive. Jack's got the black. Fire.
Gotta say, some of the most comfortable merch I've ever worn my entire life.
Shout out to Next Level Shirts. They make good stuff. Good price point. $29.99 on the site.
Hats on the way.
Free shipping. Patch hats.
Some hats. Finally got my way.
Is that camera? That camera went off. We'll keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Go ahead and fix that.
Did you already spill on yourself?
Yeah.
That was first verse.
Yeah. Jack was talking on the very first question. I spilled. So. Yeah. It's on brand for me.
Now we just have to wait for you to throw the drink over.
No, it's going to be...
He's going to go to put his leg on the table.
It'll be over. It's going to get kicked. Or...
Yeah.
Oh,
he's going to kick the table. Something will happen.
Here's a question. How long have you been spilling drinks? Because it's been as long as I've known you. So, as a kid, do you remember... as a kid, you spill stuff, you know? Like, I can distinctly remember spilling a milkshake at Red Robin in the mall. The day of Ronald Reagan's funeral.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's in my head. I remember that. So I was a kid. Yeah, right. You still spill regularly,
all the
predictably.
time. Yep.
Has that always been a thing for you? Like,
I think it's more of a recent thing.
Really?
Maybe the last half decade or so. I just started tipping stuff. Here's why I think it is. I like efficiency and doing things quick, right? So I think sometimes I go to, I'm in a rush doing something too fast, trying to be slick, and then yard sale the rock star.
What's
some people
that?
call that careless.
It could be.
Yeah, you call it what you want.
Yeah,
I called it clumsy
That's
last
fine,
night.
that's fine.
He told me no.
Yeah.
But then again, he almost put a pair of scissors through his toe.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to be efficient.
I was cooking the other day in the
straight down
kitchen.
on the toe.
I was cooking and I scissors cantilevered over the edge, straight to the tip of the toe. I thought I lost that toe.
Cantilevered, add that to Webster.
I thought I was gonna have to go in there and get a digit sewed back on. You know.
Yeah. Then it quickly became my fault that the scissors landed on
Of
his
course.
toe.
Yeah.
She's the only one here. I gotta blame somebody.
Right, that's either you or Albie.
Yeah, one or the other. Might as well be me.
Yeah.
Albus
How's the
kicked
diet
everything wrong.
going?
Diet's good. So
What is? Tell us what it is exactly.
So carnivore, got it, of course, Joe Rogan, baby.
Yeah.
Got it from Joe Rogan. It's essentially you eat only...
Oprah for men.
Oprah for men. That's a
Really?
great way to put it.
Yeah.
He's been canceled more times than me, which is hard to do, you know. But yeah, no, it's good. You eat only animal products. So for us, a lot of wild game, beef, chicken mixed in here and there. And then eggs, no oil, so cooking with butter. And yeah, it's been good. Also, you can nibble on like pork rinds if you want, which
Chicharrones?
yeah, it's crazy. You look at the ingredient list and it literally just says like pork rinds and salt. That's all it
they're
says.
good.
So
You don't like it?
Well, my first attempt at trying them, he had like covered them in some sort of seasoning.
I oversalted them a little.
No, you didn't just like take them out the bag and eat it?
The bag, they were raw on that one, so just no
flavor.
seasoning.
Yeah, those aren't as good.
They-
You can get like spicy ones or stuff like that. That's pretty good.
So yeah, as far as we're about a week and a half in, been feeling really, really good.
Yeah.
Energy, phenomenal until I find like I wake up at 6, go to the gym, feel great until I eat my first meal, which is like 11 or 12 probably. I'll have whatever, could be like 2 deer steaks or 2 elk steaks or ground and eggs. After that, I'll get a little tired for just like a little bit, maybe an hour, and then it kind of comes back up and is super consistent from there. So
Okay, we said it was interesting because we talked about this the other day, and he has that effect, but I'm like, same thing. I don't get up when he gets up because I'm not a morning person, so I'm actually angry because it is like I'm waking up like wide awake, but at like 4 a.m., not 6 a.m. So, but whatever, then I'll sleep in, get up, get ready for work, and if I don't eat or take something with me for work, I find that I'm super groggy until I do eat something. Like, so I was feeling super tired when I got home, then I ate that chicken.
Feel good.
Now I'm fine. Yeah, I find it the opposite.
yeah.
But
Are you guys eating more often? Because I always feel like when I would eat like some ground meat and veggies and eggs, I'd eat a big plate and I'd be full for about an hour. But because it was so clean, I think it just moved quickly. Didn't have that heavy food sitting, and so I'd be hungry like not long after. Are you eating more frequently, or is it still just a couple meals?
More meals, but we found like a small plate and you feel not full, like overly full. You just know when you're full, and then it seems to last like I guess you would say a long time, but really you're just eating like 4 or 5 small meals a day.
Instead of just,
more so for him because I'm I leave for work and whatnot, but like never that like in a state of ketosis, like starvation, like stomach pains feeling. Like you're just satiated, and then you eat because you've only maybe had 100 calories.
Yeah, the calories
a day.
are down.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like I feel like I'm eating a ton. Like because like you said, it's a half pound of ground and like 3 eggs, and then 2 full deer steaks and some pork rinds. Like it sounds like a lot, but I just eat until I'm full, and then that'll last a lot of times like 6 hours or something, and then I'll eat again a similar meal. All your meals are somewhat similar, but I find that it is lasting. And another thing is like just feeling better. And for me, y'all know, everyone in here except maybe Jack knows I'm a gassy boy most of the time, right? On this, I'm not gassy at all. It's crazy.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that's just all the processed
stuff
foods
that's out.
your body just was never meant to
Seed
work
oils,
with.
yeah.
Now you're having to, it takes more energy to digest. That's why you eat a big meal and you just like gotta go to the couch. You're less productive. Even if you're at work, for example, your afternoon stint is just on the decline. But when you're eating clean, your body processes it. There's less waste and then less energy to use it.
Yep.
And then better energy from it.
I think the question that's on everybody's mind right now is, how are the constitutionals?
Not bad. So I'm like, I don't feel like my bowel movements have been any different really.
Are they
sometimes
harder, soft?
About the same. Sometimes they'll be super crazy, but that's like only a few times. I don't know like what
Too many
causes.
chicharrones.
Maybe.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say maybe it's when you eat the pork rinds.
Could be, but I will say as far as like a weight loss thing, it's not why I went into it, but I did go into it eating a lot because I was like, if I'm gonna do the challenge, let me like really bulk up and try to like inflate the numbers. So I got up to like 194, which is like probably the heaviest I've ever been. And I weighed in a week later, was 186.
Oh, wow.
And it's crazy because just watching myself in videos or pictures or hearing what people are saying, a lot of people have been like, dude, you look so lean or this or that. And I can see it. Like I just look like less inflamed and like tighter.
That's a lot of it too. You might not be necessarily like obese or overweight, but you're inflamed.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the first week was like I started same thing. We weighed ourselves the end of the first night, so the number was a little skewed because it was the end of the night.
Yeah.
But whatever, maybe a pound and a couple pounds for him. And I was 129.9. I'm down to 124.3 as of this is day 9.
Did you just look at your wrist again?
I did, yeah.
It's a classic
Watching
move.
time.
She loved,
And so mine's been a little slower than his, but I think that's to be expected when he gets up and goes to the gym every single morning.
And I'm heavier too.
And you're heavier, so naturally you'll shed it a little faster than
Right.
someone's lighter.
Right.
But I think that first big chunk is mostly water weight and inflammation.
Right.
Because you're processing out all of that nasty stuff that's it literally just holds on in you. Like I have noticed a significant difference in like I have a huge problem with bloating like certain types of foods and things like that I just don't ever go get tested for. But I have noticed a huge difference in like this side profile and then just naturally like the pressure feeling not being there anymore.
Oh, for sure.
So I find it great. Like could I only eat meat for forever? No. But could you do like once a month go out and like we plan like I want to go get spaghetti on day 31 or whatever. But could you do that once a month and like, maybe have a dessert once a week? Sure. But like I don't have a desire for pastas or cravings. Craving, the only thing I crave is sweets all the time because that's just
You're a fan of sweets.
I'm a fan.
I think it's anything in moderation. Like we used to do the 5 days, of no or little to no carbs, and then the weekend, you just do whatever, and then that's just how it is.
Yeah, and overall, I mean, I suggest people try it because number one, I think the most important thing, I think it's really sustainable. Like I think you can do it for a long period of time, and like she said, when it's over with the month-long strict, the only thing I really miss is like you guys know I love popcorn, and like I do miss popcorn, so I'll probably mix that in like 2 nights a week or something. But other than that, like I'm not sitting there craving anything, so I think I'll do the same thing about 90% and then mix in like 10%.
Well, I mean, it's probably the easiest way to restructure like the discipline of a diet is to go, over the top. Having a partner or partners and accountability obviously is key. And then once you kind of go to nothing, now you can reintroduce 1 or 2 nights or 1 or 2 things here versus like just trying to trim a little bit. You're always going to want to just fall back to eating what you're.
Because that habit in your brain is still there. It's not. I wouldn't call it an addiction, but it's a habit. And so like you kind of set off little, what are those things called in your brain, like receptors. Yeah.
Well, you just don't know how bad you're feeling.
True.
Until you eat
True.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. Like,
You know.
today, instead I had, a McDonald's sausage patty with bacon and, extremely processed eggs for breakfast.
Right.
Completely different than had I made, like, the eggs that we had at the house and bacon here with
Right.
natural butter. Like, by the time I made it 5 minutes from the McDonald's to work and got out of the car, like, I could already feel that
Oh, really?
upset feeling in my stomach. Yeah. So it's like, when you do it extreme, and we made it 8 days, and
Yeah.
I had that, you just like,
Yeah,
this
it turns you off
isn't
from
good for
doing
me.
it, and it
Yeah,
makes
it
it
doesn't
easier
feel
to
good.
keep going with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we go out to dinner, you have like some sort of a cheat meal or something, to enjoy it, because
Yeah.
this might taste better, but you'll pay for it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it, obviously, this should be construed as diet advice. 'Cause
No,
We're
yeah.
not
No,
doctors.
there's no experts in
no
it.
diet advice, but yeah, no,
just
it-
your experience,
it is,
or
yeah.
our experiences with dieting.
absolutely, yeah. Personal experience, and like I said, I do enjoy it, and especially being a hunter, I think it's like makes even more sense to do something like this.
It's
when
primal.
it's primal, yeah. Shout out to Liver King.
Yeah.
When you got
Yeah.
doves or because Jack, you bird hunt, right?
Yeah, a little
And
bit. Here and
Let's
there, grouse.
go.
Yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
about that a little bit, because I've been a hunter my whole life, but I've never gone down the rabbit hole
Yeah.
of bird hunting other than like turkeys, and even those I hunt with a bow. So as far as like shooting doves and quail with the shotgun, like tell me about that. a
So
little bit.
I don't do a lot of dove and quail hunting. I feel like you pretty much, most people use dogs for that kind of stuff to kind of flush them up. My grandpa was a really, really big bird hunter. He's from Kansas. A lot of pheasant, a lot of quail, some dove here and there. And I was lucky enough to inherit a couple of his shotguns, some nice 20 gauge. I got an over-under Winchester pigeon grade, my favorite gun I have. But I do a lot of grouse hunting up in Montana, and that's so fun, man. You just walk through the woods, wait for one to just pop out, and boom. I mean, they're good, man.
Are you trying to do that?
I tried that with a bow, but it's not been
It's hard with the bow.
successful yet.
It's hard with the bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they
One
taste
day.
good. Throw them up on the Traeger.
Yeah.
Real good.
Yeah, we did that with the grouse, and it was like,
You go?
he did.
I
He-
did,
no,
yeah.
no.
I've got
How
a
many pounds
handful.
of meat did you get off of that?
Probably almost a pound on
Almost.
on
On a big grouse, yeah.
Probably
Okay.
almost a pound. They're a big bird, like about the size of a chicken. And
Okay.
I
We're
want-
getting about a pound out of that.
Probably
Yeah.
a pound, yeah. So the reason I wanted to talk about birds a little bit was just because, going back to the carnivore, it's a different style of meat you can eat other than just red meat, having
Yeah.
poultry. So I
Absolutely.
think that's pretty cool.
Lean, high protein.
For sure. And
Really
even
good.
some small game, like we're going to do a video soon where Brianna and maybe Matt or whoever will come out. We'll do a rabbit hunt with the bow and do like a catch, like a hunt and cook type
Yeah.
thing of a rabbit. I think that would be
That'd
cool.
very
Oh yeah.
Because I think that like in hunting, at least in the YouTube space, everything you see is big game hunting. You don't see any small.
Whatever's gonna make the best video
or
big
thumbnail,
list,
or
yeah.
whatever.
Right.
So I think it's cool because that's hunting too, and for me, that's my first animal with a bow was
Yeah,
a rabbit in
me too.
'98, and for you too. And speaking of that too, we got 4 of us in here, all similar in age. Jack's younger, 18, but I got into hunting when I was, a little tiny kid. Brianna, you got into it when you were 22 or so. 23, Matt, 24, 25 probably.
Yeah, I think it was like in 2017. So I don't know what that would have been. 24.
24, and Jack, you
I was 12.
12.
Killed my first turkey, and then boom.
With a straight
Shotgun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I never did any. Well, I did no hunting growing up,
Yeah.
and then
And I
was
did
only
not.
around. I mean, we shot BB guns and pellet
Yeah.
guns, but nothing, not for hunting. And then was around a bow and hunting through you and Ted. And I would shoot. I remember I would shoot your bow and at the ranch a couple times, but and it was just for fun. And then finally, got in a position, got through my work, and then got enough money to go buy a bow. And then I had that for a long time. That Rain 7.
Yeah.
And then probably about a year after that, you think maybe went on my first hunt.
Yeah,
to
I think like
Arizona.
2018 or something, yeah.
Javelina and deer.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just so you know, you got, how many years of this one guiding spot and stalks and whatnot. You know what he told me this year?
Huh.
I'm on my own.
You?
I'm on my own. Yeah.
Well,
I got 1 year
did
of
not
training.
say
1
that.
year of
1 year
training. He's like, fly the coop, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, he's like, oh, maybe, every few days you come home
come
with
circle
me.
back.
I'm exaggerating, but he's like,
No.
we're rotate and whatnot, but you got this. I'm like, I think you're crazy if you think I got this. I
Yeah.
got one pretty lucky stock, and then other than that, I've blown everyone since.
I think-
So,
Well, like, the only time I've hunted away from you and Ted was when Nick and I went to Arizona in the summer, and neither of us were successful. But we had a lot of fun, and I think we definitely grew more as hunters by just having to figure it out.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and like we were texting James, but you were on a hunt, you were on an elk hunt, so it's
Yeah.
not like, you were available all the time.
Right.
But we were just kind of having a trial and error, more
Yeah.
error than anything else. But that experience from that is, not been more beneficial than having you and Ted as mentors for years. But you learn a lot doing it that way.
I just think it's a different type of learning. You
Yeah,
know, when you're
true.
when you're out by yourself, cutting your
Absolutely.
teeth and like feeling like it's impossible, but then one day something gives you 5% of hope that hey, maybe it's possible, and
Yeah.
then maybe by the end of the trip you're to like 25% you
Yeah.
think it's possible. That's a lot better than 0. So
Mhm.
what I was trying to jump into
I
though.
just don't think this bird's ready to fly the coop. Not 100, maybe like 50% I'll fly. Like maybe I'll wander down a branch, but I won't take a
You
leap
don't wanna
on
jump
it.
yet.
flap the wing.
No, yeah, I don't think they're ready to flap, but
Yeah.
we're gonna try.
Well, we got too many people to all hunt together, so some of
Yeah.
us are going to have to flap.
It's
I
gonna
figured
be a
we'll
social
just,
thing.
It's
throw
gonna-
3 or 4 of
Yeah.
us in
Yeah.
the bed of the Polaris
Uh-huh.
and then 3 in the front and hope the tires don't
the timing
pop.
was good.
Patreon.com.
Yeah.
Patreon.
No, I don't know. if
Someone
that's
needs to
gonna
get
work.
a Polaris in this room.
We need a
You,
double.
me, somebody. We gotta get a Polaris.
I know.
Here's the
Side by
Here's-
side.
best
here's
part.
the thought though, right? I was saying we all got into it different ages, and I was curious what your guys' thoughts are, like if and when any of us have children. Do you plan to introduce them into hunting as like right out the gate as early as possible, or do you think it's better to wait till they're 15, 20, 12? Like when do you think's the best time to get introduced into hunting?
I think as soon as my child can stand up and manage to kind of maneuver around without falling over constantly, I will throw a little children's bow in their hand.
I was gonna say I think it's if they're interested in it. That's like the
Yeah,
main
don't
thing,
ever.
you know,
I
like
think don't force it.
Yeah,
on them,
absolutely. You don't want to force it on them. But if they're showing interest at a young age, why not get them started as soon as possible? It's fun, man.
That's kind of how you were, right? I mean, you probably don't even
Mhm.
remember starting.
Yeah.
It was just always there,
Mhm.
because you grew up with your dad doing it before you were born.
Yep.
And so it was just kind of a natural thing. And I think that's probably, that'd probably be the case with all of our different hobbies.
Yeah.
Like, our kids are going to be more inclined to do those while also finding their own
Right.
and not being pressured to do something just because, we did it.
Yeah. That's why I wish Paul was, right. Sorry, Albus, but I wish Paul was right here. 'Cause
Yeah.
You
Paul
say
will
like,
get in here.
yeah,
Yeah,
you'd like
yeah,
to
sure.
think that like, if it's around in the family and your kids see it's something
Right.
they might naturally want to pick up and do
Right.
pick up, but then you have, like
Yeah,
opposite
choose-
birds
yeah.
here
Right.
where he, took it and flew with it, and I don't really know, maybe Paul went a couple times with them or whatnot, but then Paul found something else he was more interested in, biking and whatnot,
Motors,
and,
yeah.
and motocross, and took motocross, I don't know what you call it, but
Yeah.
you say it the right way.
Yeah.
Is there really an R in there? I mean, it's a motocross.
Motocross.
Moto. Why is the
Moto.
R not there? It's a motor.
I think that is just cooler.
Shortened.
Moto X, baby.
When you cross
Moto
it.
X.
Yeah.
That's just what you.
Also,
that's
what
just
are
what
you
you do
crossing?
for
You're
short.
jumping in the air.
Moto
You're not
X.
crossing anything.
Yeah, but what is motocross or supercross? What are you crossing?
I don't know. I think it's just
The
like a
finish
cool.
line?
It's a
I
cool
don't know.
name.
All right. I mean, that's
Maybe.
the answer I've heard. Not
Yeah.
this.
Shout out to Brian Deegan and Haley Deegan, Marissa Hayden, all the guys.
Just
Yeah.
name as many famous people as we
Yeah,
can.
that was one family.
No,
Yeah.
but anyways,
Shout out
yeah,
to the
just
Deegans.
going back to it, I think that would be an interesting topic. Is just because when Paul's here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
nature versus nurture, really. In
Well,
that
yeah.
sense, is like,
Mhm.
Absolutely.
and
Why
it,
did it
and it
work
probably
for
was
one,
he was
not the
around
other?
it and then just chose that it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
Which
I'm kind of the opposite. My dad never hunted, never a big hunter, but I spent a lot of time up in Montana with my uncle,
mm,
and that's all he does. And, I was kind of watching him, seeing some pictures of some of the bulls that he's killed and deer and all sorts of stuff. And I took a liking to it, started watching some videos, started watching Bowdisciples.
Let's go.
I was there since 1,500 subs.
That's right.
OG.
Yep, since you were
Relatively
15 or something, probably.
14, 13.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like some people I feel like are kind of tuned to enjoy hunting and
I agree with that.
Fishing.
Well, there's lots of different styles. So I grew up fishing.
Me too.
Yeah.
But there's lots of different styles of hunting. Like some people might not like the hunting where you're rarely even seeing animals, let alone successful. So they might gravitate more towards a rifle and then more towards
shotguns,
ranches, or more towards guided hunts, things like that. They might not have the patience to go out and do a spot stock on their own, or the time.
A lot of time.
Or the time.
And so
or talent too.
Which is a big part. But there's just a broad spectrum of hunting.
Absolutely.
Hunting and fishing, and then just being self-sufficient that can take you anywhere.
Dude, for sure. And one thing I think that for getting kids into hunting specifically, that I think is really, really beneficial for children specifically, is the work ethic you can gain. If you want to be a successful hunter, you're going to have to learn how to bust your ass and show up every day and be on the field. That's what I always say. You got to be on the field. And, it's like being a baseball player who, their hamstrings strained a little more than a lot of the other guys. If you do that hunting, you're not going to punch many tags. So I think you can learn that persistence and also just how to attack life, I think that when I'm hunting, you guys know, up every morning, always out there on time, but sometimes you get back to your regular life and work and all of a sudden you're snoozing a little more, sleeping in more, and you got to go, no. I got to attack this like I would be attacking having a bull tag in my pocket.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
that,
I think.
Lessons of hunting. And that's similar with sports for kids.
Yep.
Kids play sports and learn discipline and what it takes to be successful. You can't not show up to practice or not try and practice and then get up to the plate and expect that you're going to get on base.
Right.
Well, same with archery or hunting or any style. You can't just leave the bow or the gun in the closet and then show up on first day of season and expect that you're going to be able to deliver. It's just not going to work that way. So it's those life lessons of teaching a kid through sports or archery, which is I guess in essence a sport. Those things that are best taught by just doing and experiencing on your own, with family and friends or parents that are going to teach them those things that, like you said, are going to carry outside of just hunting into business, into their life, relationships, things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a great, to your point, I like what you said about, with family and friends. I do love hunting by myself, and I was talking to Brianna about this the other day. I haven't got to really hunt by myself and lock in on something since 2017, so it's been a while. But mostly when you're hunting, you at least are at a camp with buddies or family or whatever. And I think that camaraderie is also super important, learning those people skills. And for me, when I was younger, Jack's age or younger, people would always compliment my dad and say James has such good people skills with adults and this and that. And he goes, well, James has been coming to hunting camp with all adults and he was the only kid since he was 5 years old. Yeah. So of course, I'm going to know how to interact with older people. Just like Jack, you wouldn't know he's as young as he is unless we knew that, and that's probably largely due to hunting, would you say?
I'd say a lot of it's hunting. Definitely some of it is starting working at a relatively young age. I worked at a golf course. I was a cart boy for a summer when I was 14. And, just talking to clients, learning how to talk to adults. But, ever since I can remember, I mean, the same type of deal. Other parents have been, telling my parents how respectful I am or, how good I am at talking to them. I think a lot of kids are afraid to talk to adults, but I've just never really had that. Obviously you want to be respectful, but you can still talk to people who are older than you. But most of my friends, they'll go say hi to my parents or whatever, and it's just very brief and kind of awkward. And I don't know, I think a lot of people are kind of born with that. Just the natural people skills and
more mature,
Yeah.
or more mature earlier.
Right. Yeah.
And I think some of it also is, and kind of like what you were saying, but it's your parents saying, you know, hey, go shake their hand and go say goodbye to Mr. and Mrs. Or,
Yeah.
you know, when you see somebody, you know, shake their hand and look
Yeah.
them in the eye and use their last name. Just those kinds of things that you're just taught growing up.
Yeah.
That then, you know, in combination with being just born more mature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carry over.
A lot of it's parenting too.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
remember my dad, one year when I was like 7 or 8 probably, I was throwing limes. I was picking limes off of our lime bush in the backyard, and I was throwing them at the neighbor's window. I don't know why I was doing that.
Yeah, kid.
The neighbor comes running down the street, knocks on the door. Your son was throwing limes at the window, whatever. And I'm in the back just shaking, like scared, even though I was totally in the wrong there. And then my dad comes home from work that day, and he makes me get up and go knock on the door and apologize. And,
Yeah.
you know, he always liked to put me in those kind of uncomfortable situations with adults, but I think that it really, really helped for the long run, you know.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think, anytime in anything that you have to be, again, pushed out the nest and become like uncomfortable, I think is when you're gonna find growth, not when you're just like doing what makes you super comfortable. Then you're just kind of doing the same thing.
Right.
But a lot of times, like if you think back on like real rough patches of your life, and then think about like where you were at in that rough patch, hating life, but then coming out of it 3-4 months.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you're like, wow, I really grew a lot from that experience.
Yeah. And then, also like when you're in the rough patch, you don't really know that you're in the rough patch until you're out of it. You know, it's like,
true.
Yeah, it's very eye-opening once you're out of it. You're like, holy crap, it's a bad spot.
Well, that's wild stuff. And I'm sure you being in the military probably have had to deal with a bunch of stuff that has made you uncomfortable or things of that, especially being a woman. Would you say that's helped you a lot just in personal growth?
Yes and no. I would say maybe I could say that if I had come in, you know, right after college at 22 years old or something, but I came in a lot older at 27. So with, you know, multiple professional careers under my belt before that. So you just kind of come in with different head on your shoulders that you're already a bit more mature. So if anything, it's just a little more eye-opening to see young college graduates in a professional workplace, and you're just looking from, you know, the third party or, you know, bird's eye view at what's, you know, going on in front of you. You're like, man, you almost wish like they had more like professional career classes in high school, or you know, like European schools do, a lot more trade schools and trade classes and things like that, just where people learn how to be professional or how to handle your money or whatever it is. It teaches you to be a bit more mature, because you see them and you're like, I don't know if I want to talk to the CO in that way.
Yeah, some of it, I think, like you're saying, a lot of it might not be, they just don't know. You know,
yeah, they've just never experienced
and some of it, you know, is just, you know, a lack of respect, or they're thinking that is not important, you know, or maybe they weren't taught those same values. But they also might just, you know, be unaware that that's not the way you do it, or that's not how you should, you know.
Well, I think our school system really
and that's just generational
yeah,
change, you know. I mean, if you look at how strict parenting and kids were, you know, years and years ago, where it wasn't really much of a relationship. It was kind of just this was a parent and this was the kid, and it's a one-way conversation. To where we are now, it's just, you know, it's on a big scale. Yeah, it is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But the people that are, you know, in the hunting communities and are being taught those kinds of, you know, habits, I think generally tend to be a little better off and learn through those trials and experiences. You know, I mean, think about like the experience of taking an animal. Yeah. Especially at a young age. I didn't do that at a young age, but you probably did. You know, that's got to take a bit and either shape you one way or another. You might be totally turned off from hunting by having to do it at a young age, or you might, you know, learn that that's part of it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I cried the first deer I ever killed.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say.
It's it's just such a weird. It feels. I don't want to come across as like, you know, brutal or whatever, but it feels natural, but it's also very like, it's very emotional. Like it can
For
definitely
sure.
be very emotional. And I was, I was happy that it was a clean kill, which I was very happy about. But still, it's just totally. I don't want to say I was sad. I mean, obviously, I felt some remorse. But yeah, it really is eye-opening for you when you kill your first animal.
I mean, I speak from very little experience when it takes to actually
Harvesting
punching a
anything?
tag, harvesting anything. But like, I think that the persona that's cast from outside the hunting community is that it's done for. It is done for fun, but that you're just killing something to kill something, or that you're not appreciating the act.
Yeah.
And I think you appreciate it even more.
Agreed.
Oh, absolutely.
From the amount of work you put in, from the perspective you have towards those animals by being around them for so long, by beating them at their game, where they live and survive way more than they don't. You appreciate that animal, and then to be able to see it in its true environment, and then connect with it, once you are successful.
Yeah.
That emotion right there is going to be, in my opinion, way stronger than someone that from the outside can just say that they love animals.
Oh, dude, I've always said that. I think people that are like animal lovers or vegans or whatever that have a very negative view towards hunting and claim to like love and respect animals so much. I really believe that hunters respect and know animals much better than people like that, because for me, I know how not only tough their life is, but I know how smart they are, how good they are at surviving,
Or
how tuned
happy
in
they
they
are
are.
sometimes. Like,
Yeah, I've seen animals play crazy games.
I don't know if you guys knew this. I know James does, but like there was a time right after college where I was, I think maybe mid towards the end of college and graduating. I was vegetarian, went full vegan, and then
Because
back
you
to
were
vegetarian.
sympathetic to
I was a bit of
animals?
a PETA puffer.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean Peter Puffer.
No, yeah, no,
PETA puffer.
yeah.
I heard you.
Yeah.
totally got it.
Thanks for the
Um,
clarification.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we
It
all
was a
knew.
good play on words, though.
But yeah, just I felt very sympathetic. I'm an extreme, as most people do, extreme animal lover.
Same.
And like if I could have 100 dogs, I swear I would own a kennel, and I would sleep in the kennel, and I would sleep. Each night would be dedicated to a different dog.
Kind of like Hugh
Yeah.
Hefner, but different.
Yeah, exactly. You can't take me to an animal shelter because I will sob and cry, and I will walk out with the dog. So we've avoided going to animal shelters.
Yes.
But
yes, we have.
yes, so am a extreme animal lover, and it is just very different. Like I'm still sad, even like it's a different feeling. Like you said, when you shoot your own animal, because like adrenaline's pumping and whatnot. But like prime examples, like the Arizona coups last year. Like I went up and was like saying hello to the deer,
Yeah.
good morning,
That was
like I'm
very
so
cool.
sorry.
Yeah,
I
very
petted
cool
him.
video.
I said I'm so sorry, but your dinner. Like I have an extreme appreciation for it, but it's different when you're sitting there and you're say in a tree stand and like in Utah, and I got to watch this little spike just like play around with his little spikes with the bushes that we had cut down from the trees and making his little scrapes, and came up to my tree and his little bleats and whatnot. Like he was just a happy-go-lucky little spike, and you're like, he's living a great life, and it's gonna take 10 seconds. He's never gonna know what hit him, and then it's over. Whereas a cow in a cattle farm is gonna have to sit in, sometimes it's free range, whatever, but for the most part, like they're in pens side by side. They don't rarely get to move, and that's how they live till they get fat, and then an air gun to the head, and that's the end of the cow's life. And he never even knew what being a cow was. But a wild animal you take from the forest always knew what his life was, even if they don't comprehend it because they're animals. But it's
I had
great.
a very unique perspective on that. I think it was the first and only time the deer I got in Arizona a couple years ago.
Dandy, by the way.
Yeah, very fun, very fun. Check that video out if you can. But there's a butcher nearby where we, took the meat to get processed before I drove home, and that butcher also processed some of the free range cattle, and they happened to be processing that same day that I was either dropping off or picking up the meat, and so I watched them as they processed a few of the cows. A much different scenario and experience for that cow than it was, for the buck that was just doing its thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then
a lot of herding them around.
down.
There's a lot of anxiety and fear in that animal, which like I don't know anywhere near the depth of the science, but if you ask some really good butchers, they will know. Like that adrenaline pumping through that animal, that fear pumping through that animal creates toxins and chemicals that run and then stiffen in the muscle as that animal dies, atrophies, and whatnot, and it makes that meat a lot more tough. There are ways butchers told me about it, like that they get that out of it and whatnot through the processing time, but a wild game is never going to feel any of that. Maybe the 10 seconds that they spent sprinting afterwards, 60 yards, but they aren't being herded down a lane. Their whole life, just being herded one direction or another.
You do your job and your best to make it as quick and painless as possible, and then that is the brief period. And I'm not against eating a steak.
No.
I
love beef.
I'm just saying that there's in my opinion no argument in which wild game is worse. That's
certainly not.
Also, there's plenty of animal death that comes from just harvesting fruits and vegetables, and I was listening to a podcast somewhere. In every soybean field, they have to kill every frog, every freaking rabbit, every animal who's living and eating their crop.
Yeah, so now someone's just drawn an arbitrary line at which they think the animal is not cute or big enough or funny enough or, to care.
That happens all the time.
Balance out their morals.
And that bunny is not getting, picked up and taken home for somebody's dinner. That bunny's going to be left there to rot. Those frogs are not turning into frog legs. So when you think about, I don't want to ever turn into a
frog legs are good. You ever have frog legs?
Oh my God, I love
amazing.
frog legs. They're my favorite.
Yeah, very good.
When I was a
kid,
kid,
there's gonna be a Florida trip. I say this every pod now, every time. There's gonna be like a 2-week Florida trip. We're gonna experience every type of hunting in Florida. There's gonna be frog digging.
Maybe a little Miami,
Maybe some Miami in there.
A little Miami.
I went during a very special week in Miami, known as like spring break.
I thought you were gonna say All-Star Weekend. I wasn't sure.
Spring break, but it was for
I'm getting canceled for sure. Again.
Let's go ahead and redirect here to frog legs.
I'm
gonna do refills.
It was a fun time. It was wild.
Yeah.
But anyways, Florida. There's a lot of frog legs that are.
What's
it's
the
like
craziest thing you think you've eaten?
I don't know if I've really. Well, no, the church.
I've had one that I think's pretty wild.
I'm trying to think. That's a good question.
I don't know if
I ate deer raw one time.
I'm talking species more than prep.
Species? Shoot, I don't think I've ever eaten anything super crazy.
So I think frogs for some people would be crazy.
I've eaten frog.
I've had alligator.
Yep.
Which I'm sure you have too.
I've not actually had that.
Rocky Mountain oysters.
Yeah.
Not had
pretty
that.
good.
No, those were offered to me on my Kentucky hunt, but I said
I've
no.
had kangaroo.
Huh.
See, I went to try kangaroo and did not get to try it while I was there. I was bummed.
Had ostrich.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Turkey.
Yeah. By the way, we have a lot of Australian viewership, so shout out to
Australia.
Shout out Australia.
In Texas.
I'll fly back out.
We sold
Just let me know when.
A lot of merch has flown to Australia, let me tell you.
That's
so
awesome.
that's one of our biggest countries that views. So shout out to the Australians.
Australia's on the top of my hunt list for
that'd be
sure.
very cool.
New Zealand.
Yeah.
New Zealand also, we get some orders for sure.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. We talked about wanting to get animals, wanting to put them down quickly and humanely. Very important to us at Hunters. I'm curious your guys' perspective. How much do you guys think that doing 3D shoots, whether local or like TAC or the Bowdisciples Challenge, like your big shoots, how much do you think that helps in preparation for that moment in the hunt?
I don't know if it being a 3D target shoot has that much.
Just reps, man.
I think it's more just reps. And now, like shooting at a target that has that kind of a shape and the size, if that's accurate, like that can be important. Like it can train you. Like, for example, when the first time I ever went hunting, I shot at a deer and I aimed like center mass, biggest, room for air, and I missed. So he ducked it and I missed him. So from then I bought a 3D target. I went home and I basically, trained myself to shoot at the pocket.
Right.
I struggle, I think just subconsciously on 3D shoots at shooting low. I don't know if it's just, I just don't aim there, even though I know that's where the rings are. I think just my mind is just trained to aim that, towards the pocket. So in that sense, it being a 3D target at a 3D shoot might be important.
Yeah.
But more importantly, like Jack said, it's just time behind the bow, time going through the process, so that it's second nature. Like a lot of things, when you're in that moment, there's very little I think you actually think about or are consciously thinking about.
Absolutely.
You have to already have it to where like you can now think about all the other little things, not how to shoot the bow. Like, that's now just a second nature instinct type thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have the most realistic 3D target and practice on it, hours a day, but nothing compares to when you're at full draw on that elk or that deer. Yeah. Everything pretty much just goes out the window. You just have to, rely on your fundamentals and all your practice, but it's just like, your heart's pumping, you're shaking, you're probably not in an ideal shooting position. It's just, everything goes out the door and you're just, like, I mean, sometimes I've shot at things and I don't even remember, like, that whole 30-second interval of, even if I killed it, like, whatever it just all goes out the window and you forget a lot about what happens.
Yeah, I think that, like, aside from not the targets that are beneficial, but I think when you do 3D shoots that have like the terrain mixed in, like Bowdisciples Challenge or Total Archery Challenge or things like that, I think that you're really benefiting from shooting on the type of terrain that you're shooting on, whether it's steep down, steep up, the footing's messed up, you're shooting next to a tree. That's where it maybe becomes a little more beneficial than shooting a block target in your yard, which is also really good and important.
Absolutely.
But I think mixing in those variables of elevation and side slope and all that stuff, wind, whatever, that is the benefit, I think.
In Holden, for a long time, you really should be practicing that a lot too, I think. Because there's times where, like, you'll draw back, but it's not a good shot. They're quartering away from you or towards you or whatever it may be, and you got to wait 30 seconds, even a minute, until you get that good shot.
There's certainly a physical aspect to almost all bow hunting. Just being able to say, I can hike up there and glass. And then I can hike down and I can hike up the hill where I saw it and go get it. That's a cardio aspect. There's a strength aspect of, at the end of the day, after I've been doing all that, now I have to draw my bow back. And if I'm in a situation where I have to hold it or let down and do it again, I can do so quietly and still be able to make a good shot afterwards. So like that physical aspect, is super important. It shouldn't be overlooked as part of the training and practice in bow hunting. If you're a target shooter, probably not that important. Obviously, just the muscle reps are still going to be there. But the cardio aspect is not as much.
In hunting.
But if you're in hunting,
it's huge.
That has to be part
especially
of it.
Western hunting, spot and stock. It's one thing if you're in a tree stand.
For sure. Brianna just had a moment on our last hunt where she can attest to the importance of being in shape and being able to do it and not pulling a bow that's over pounded for you.
That's super cool.
When we were on that side slope, we had a bull right there. It took you a few tries to get the bow back, right?
It took, I think it was 5 tries.
Really?
So I mean, we were 10 miles into the day probably. And then we, it was like uphill, plateau, uphill, plateau, and I think we were reaching the 3rd plateau. So like on top of 10 miles in, now you're hiking straight up with a backpack, with a couple liters of water in it, and your bow, and it was just by that 3rd plateau, and we didn't make it to the top because the elk was at the top, so we were like trying to sit/stand on the slope. So again, it goes back to like shooting that uneven stuff, what's not normal, not a flat ground. So trying to like squat there, draw my bow back while keeping pressure to stay standing and not fall down the mountain. Balance.
And you're shooting uphill.
So all that weight's going backwards when you're trying to pull. It took 5 tries before I got it back, and it was rough. Luckily, that didn't cause me to, miss it or anything, like miss an opportunity. That just it didn't play out that way with what the elk did. But it was he's very hot.
All over me.
Albus, that's gross, buddy. But yeah, it's now I'm done, but we got a couple months till Arizona, so we turned the poundage up on the bow. So.
But see, that's a good experience too, though, because it teaches you a few things. One, you might be a little overbowed, possibly. Number 2, it's like, okay, I need to get stronger. Like, it teaches you those things, but you don't learn that unless you're in the field and in those positions, you know? So I think that's really important to know, and then hopefully next time around you're more geared up for it, and that happens to people all the time. So just getting the opportunity to put yourself in those positions where that could happen, and then if it does, okay, now I got to make the improvements so it doesn't happen again. Ideally.
Yeah, I think those 3D targets and those 3D shoots are huge, and I think Southern California, I don't know about other areas of the state or country, has a large number of them and at different locations to give you that practice. Make an attack event, at least 1 or 2 a year, I think is great. Every time you find yourself in a spot where you're like, this sucks, like I can't get any footing, or like I got to do this or this, that should be good. That should be, in the moment, we can kind of like complain about it. We're like, oh, come on. But that's great, because now you have to think, okay, what would I do? Without the pressure of an animal, do I take a knee? Do I like shooting from a knee? Do I shoot up from my butt? Do I crouch? Figure it out then.
Yeah.
That way,
and
you can say, I've done this before. Yeah. This is what worked. This is what didn't, and not have it cause an error in a situation that's already stacked against you.
Right.
Yeah, like not even just what you liked, but like what you says at the end. There's like what works. So like, especially for me with a slow bow and a big arc, like we had opportunities I just didn't take because we were unsure, and I think we could have, and I think they were pretty unlikely that they would have been successful, so good thing that we didn't send it. But is knowing like what your bow and its capabilities and limitations are, like with hanging branches, with windows, like knowing, hey, if I took a knee and I got this pretty good size window or whatever, like you can equate that to what you're looking at in real life down the road. But if you don't practice that stuff, like you could send it, hit a tree limb you never thought your bow would arc to, and boom, not just either miss, but also end up hitting it in a spot you didn't intend to.
Sure. And that's maturity, I think, on you in this case, or in a hunter's, in any hunter, is being able to have an opportunity and say, no, I don't think so. This isn't right. It's not. It looks bad for this reason, or I've had this experience before, therefore I know that this outcome is even less likely.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
And back in the day, I would have been
That's a pro move.
super mad. Young hunter me would have been pissed that I didn't take a shot.
Yeah, you couldn't just take every shot you got, or just huck it and see if it works. That's not part of the art, I don't think. But like you said, each thing, remember that one in Texas that we were shooting out there was a 69-yarder classic. And you and I, the guys of the group, we all missed. Yeah. Our bows are pretty similar in poundage and in size and whatnot. And we both hit the limb.
You didn't. I think you shot it standing up and like maybe hit over or something. Yeah. I tried to shoot it off my knees, I want to say, and clipped the branch. So you couldn't even hear it or see it until we watched the tape. But all the girls, I think, basically just went clean over, just fine, because of the art.
Was this the Bowdisciples challenge?
No, this was in Texas Attack. But the Bowdisciples challenge, I mean, that one had a banger for that. That dinosaur shot with the branch over top.
I hit that branch.
So many arrows were logged into it because guys would pull up to it and they would draw and they would break a perfect shot and bam, you're buried in a branch. And when we set it up, actually, I moved that. I think my dad was there with me setting the target, and I made him move it until you had to shoot it kneeling
at the branch.
I knew for a fact a lot of people were going to bury arrows in that, and it was cool to see. But that right there is a premium example.
Not because they maybe thought, they probably just didn't even think about it. Yeah, and that's that next level of shooting it. And I can remember like way back, I think even before I was hunting, I was watching, like I'd watch Jim Burnworth on TV, and I remember him doing the whole thing about, hold it up, now check if that thing is 30 and it's a 50-yard shot, check your 30 pin. See if it's on that branch. If it is, you're in trouble. So just learning that, throw that into that, into the process, and it's,
there's a lot that could go wrong in hunting.
Oh yeah.
Especially bow.
Especially
bow hunting.
Yeah.
You could do everything perfect. I always say this in archery. It's like one of the few things you have to be 100% perfect, because you could be 95% perfect and be sitting on a bedded buck that you just spent 4 hours stalking in on. He's 40 yards, and he could get up, and you could have 3 routes he could go, and you can get a shot, and he takes the 4th route that you can't, and that happens, and you still did it perfect, but the luck wasn't perfect. So everything has to pan out, which I think is crazy.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if you guys saw this this past week, but I'm sure we probably all follow Cam Hanes. 8,100 pull-ups his son hit in 24 hours.
Oh my God! Do you see
now,
the
this is
hands?
insane. Yeah. So can anyone have a phone or calculator?
I got a phone.
Do 8,100 divided by 24. How many?
His son
pull-ups?
did 8,100.
8,100 in 24 hours. It's a world record.
His son.
His son. Shout out to him.
I'm not trying to.
That's insane.
Something seems off.
337.5.
It was filmed live. Nothing can be off.
8,100.
How much?
337.5.
an hour.
So 337 pull-ups an hour. So divide that
by
by
60.
60.
That's 5.625 push-ups or pull-ups a minute.
A minute, dude.
No
24 hours.
Now, like I
And
could
he
see
can't
that.
let down.
I could see that
I'm
maybe.
gonna fact check you.
Shout out to
It's,
him.
no, it's a
That-
thing, but like the most
That's
I
crazy.
the most thing like
You said Cam Hanes?
It's his son, Truett Hanes.
the closest I've ever come to anything like that is doing like a Murph workout where you do 100.
Yeah.
That's hard, and that's one time. We'll just call it an hour. It's less than that, but whatever. Now you got to triple. What was 300 something, and then do that 23 more hours.
It's insane.
I don't know.
So he had tried this like 3 other times and did not get the record. Had to get out because his hands were too weak.
Does he use any sort of like grip or like those?
So
pads,
from what I saw, I
what
obviously didn't sit there and watch the whole 24-hour live feed. But
Mhm.
I mean, when you live stream, that's how you know. I know he wasn't cheating. I believe it. But it's really cool when you do something live because you go, well, go watch the 24-hour tape. But
8,100, you're right.
but
I'm just being a hater.
So he did it. I saw some with the bare hands, and then some I saw he was wearing like farmer's gloves.
Yeah.
But his hands were still just
I'm
destroyed.
sure.
Oh yeah, I saw the clip at they posted of his like hands literally trembling, and his like pinkies would just randomly twitch, and there's just big gaping blisters.
Just hands torn.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was bad.
That's great. I mean, impressive. So.
I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with like, especially someone like Cam, who's not only a hunter but also does the running and stuff. Like, it's a prime example of how being a parent like that makes your kids do super crazy stuff, because that's literally a world record. You beat David Goggins, who had the previous record of like 8,000. He beat it by 100. I think he beat it with like an hour to go and did 100
30
more.
minutes to go.
That's friggin' insane, right? But the fact that Truett gets to see his dad bang out miles all the time and be successful hunting, be successful at business. You can't tell me that didn't help accomplish that pull-up goal.
No, for sure. It set like,
the standard.
the expectation or the standard of like someone like me sitting here, like that's impossible. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that thought process towards it. So it's just.
So impressive.
Yeah, it's so
wild.
So impressive.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like to kind of expand on that, you just did a half marathon. You're not like a runner. You don't
How many
run a
miles
ton.
was that?
So
It's 13 point something.
13 and 1.
Tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's funny, you were just talking about Goggins. I read his book, Can't Hurt Me, and it really, everybody says this, but it really did change my life for the better. I was throughout the whole summer, I was washing cars, grinding, but then I'd go to the gym for an hour and a half, and then I'd run 6 miles a day, and I kept that up for months on end, and then I signed up for that half marathon, and I was really happy with my time. I got an hour and 46 minutes, And yeah, I just signed up for a full marathon that I'm gonna do in January. So we'll see how it goes.
That's crazy.
Might have to vlog that for BD.
Yeah, you know, it's,
We'll be at the finish line.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
drive from
Yeah.
checkpoint to checkpoint
Yeah.
and film you.
Yeah.
pushing yourself is like one of the best things that you can do. Not only for your physical health, but for your mental health.
It's okay.
Yeah, no,
You know?
dude, for sure.
You know.
How did it feel to embark on a goal like that, number one, but then actually, like,
Follow through.
how did you feel at the start line? Did you feel like, man, I'm hosed, or how do you feel before, after, during?
So before I was pretty anxious and nervous, like, oh shoot, this is the longest run I've ever done. How's it gonna go? But you know, when you're in the race and you're doing it, it feels a lot easier. There's people all around you supporting you, cheering you on, ringing the bells. And then through the race, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna see my girlfriend at the finish line. It's gonna be great. And I ended up, you know, running way faster than I would have expected. And I can push myself for this hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it may be, and then I'm done. And then I'm going back to my, you know, relaxed life.
What was your
like,
approach? Like, did you look at like the 13.1 like from the start, or did you go let's run a mile?
Every mile.
Right.
I just take it 1 mile at a time.
Not like I got 6 to go.
No.
It's I got 1 to go.
No, it was
And
more.
it
It
was
was more.
one to
Oh,
go.
I got 7 down. You know, like it's
Heck yeah.
kind of glass half full
Right.
type deal. But it was a blast, and I mean, just
That's cool.
it's all mental. It's like a lot of archery is mental too. I mean, like,
Did you lock in with anybody? Did you run with anybody?
I didn't. I was
Did you
by
run?
myself.
Did you like have a similar pace with somebody and kind of keep up, or you just kind of were complete solo?
There's a
Something
story
crazy
here.
happened.
I was running behind this chick for about
I
7
knew it.
I hope Jack's
I knew
girlfriend
it.
not watching.
No, it's a carrot
No,
from
she's
a horse.
been
I knew
straight. We're
it.
good. We're
I
good.
knew it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's really fast
Did that
runner.
actually happen?
No, it actually happened. I was pacing her the whole time.
And she was fast, you know?
She was very fast.
She was fast.
She was a beast.
You were pacing her, or she was pacing you?
I was pacing her.
From behind?
Nice.
Where else would I
Let's
pace her?
go. I hope Jack's girlfriend not watching. And then afterwards, I assume you celebrated and had some 7-Ups and Gatorades, or?
Yeah. We'll go with that.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it was
Right.
great.
No, that's cool. I think, like, you know, did you have, what?
Pedia what?
She thought that was a funny bar. That was a good bar.
I didn't think it
It was
You
a
know,
good
like
bar.
it's like child's, you know.
Yeah.
It's for children.
No,
So,
I
and
know.
then he's 18, so it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
that's
a-
what.
yeah.
Gosh, guys,
it just hit me later.
Number one, I'm having fun in this podcast. I also feel just very comfortable with the new merch. So, bowdisciples.com, free
Physique,
shipping.
man.
Yeah.
You know,
You gotta
physique looks
You
good.
gotta keep the arms down though.
Yeah, you gotta-
you wouldn't want to put them up a little
Mm.
So
sweaty.
just
Yeah.
waiting for those
No.
hats we finally convinced you to get.
Yeah.
It's been a
Matt
long time.
He's been
coming.
working on a patch hat for 4 years,
Yeah.
probably.
Everyone loves them.
Yeah.
I think for some reason. I'm not saying you were resistant to them.
I think it's a little bit of a hater. I think there are other great
Really?
patch hats out
Is that
there,
your
and
thing?
so
You hate it?
I don't. Maybe.
I think so. I personally think so. He just, you know.
Hey.
But these new patch
gave in.
hats, they're gonna sell out quick.
Oh, for sure.
Mm.
You got that pump station one. That one gonna go ballistic.
Yeah, we kind of got two
styles.
lines of merch.
Yeah.
And James and I have always had kind of like 2 different styles and approaches
Very much so.
to anything, whether it be, you know, going out to the bars or like even the pool party or whatever. You know, our suits would be different. I'm more of a safe, you know, still in style, still pretty cool, but nothing wild.
Yeah.
James over here,
On the other hand.
he has like penguins eating popsicles, you know, on his page.
Facts.
Things
And that's
falling
fine.
out.
Facts.
You know, and they're short.
Yeah.
You know, so we got the pump station line is kind of your, you know, your little
Risque.
edge. You could wear it out to a rave maybe if you
Yeah.
get the lime green or, you know, something like that.
You know, the
Or-
one. You go. Sorry.
Or you could just, you know, wear the, you know, nice green tee here.
Yeah, we went
It's
basic
nice.
on the tees.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we hit the
Oh,
spectrum.
this is classic. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
you know.
This is
I could wear that
this-
honey if I wanted to.
Right. Oh, you could.
Yeah.
You could, yeah.
Put that under. Put that under.
What
some nice
I
tweed.
want to talk about, like, what's the new trend of hunters not wearing camo?
You mean like the first
Solids,
light stuff?
yeah.
Yeah, what is this?
Yeah.
I think it's all just aesthetics and
it looks cooler for pictures on the gram.
Is there?
There's science on it.
That's
what they're selling.
Yeah.
Okay, well, tell me about it.
I don't know. I wear Kuyu.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I wear Walmart, baby.
You know?
Walmart. Mossy Oak Realty. Hey, by the way, a media kit coming your way, Mossy Oak and Realty. So I'm hoping to be on that factory staff. Yeah, I'll send it.
Get Brianna there at least.
Come on.
But
it is crazy.
I think it's like we think of. For example, we're looking at what can the deer see when we're standing out there and we're watching our buddy go stalk, or we're like, dude, I can see you. But a deer's eyes or an elk's eyes or an animal's eyes, for example, are very different. I don't know what they are, but I'm just saying, if they're putting that out there, a brand such as First Light, there's probably a reason.
Some research.
It's probably not just that they think it's cool.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Do we think that's
maybe
a
more
factor?
versatile?
Do we think it's a factor?
Cool.
Well, hold on. I'm
Yes.
just saying, like how brands like Sitka and QU and First Light have taken off. I personally think that a lot of it is because people think it looks cooler.
There's a look.
Do we think that's part of it?
No, there's a look that
Part of it,
advertising. Like, for example, you're one of, if not the most, successful hunters that I personally know.
Yeah,
appreciate
and
that.
that's out there, really, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You rock Walmart camo.
Yeah. Mossy Oak, baby.
Legend for doing it.
Let's go.
Albus, we're trying to record a podcast. Okay? I rocked Walmart camo.
We
I
watched one of your
switched-
videos the other day before you.
Oh,
brought
yeah.
Kuyu.
I switched to Kuyu. It made no difference.
No difference.
Sadly, it made no difference.
But did you feel better?
But I felt more comfortable.
Yeah.
And when that thing hit Instagram, you know what I mean?
Well, it looks a little.
It looks a little cool.
But I don't wear it for that.
I will say this, right? Even though I like just camo I get from Walmart, I do prefer the stuff that's more form fitting, and I think that these brands we spoke of, that's what they make, is more athletic, tighter fitting gear that's like
breathable.
just more breathable,
Yeah, it's
better
just
for
it's
hiking.
generally better. I mean, that is why
High
a
quality.
portion of it is the quality is better. Like, that's not a lie.
You're paying for name.
Yeah.
And a portion of it, but some of it is going to something that actually
Some
is going to
material.
fit.
Is the
Isn't going to
fact
be
that-
baggy.
Quieter.
Is quieter.
I don't
is-
know about that.
Well,
I do.
Well,
your pants
your
are 20
pants.
years old. Not my.
Those pants
you
are
know
wild.
you
Yeah.
know that my pants and my gear are super cool.
They're 20 years old. They've been through the washer about
Wear
8,000
and
times.
tear, baby.
No,
Yeah.
But
They're
your
pajama
your
pants.
Proas pants, not to be a hater, those
No,
things I
but
can
see,
hear you
those-
walking a mile away.
Those are bad.
Those are bad,
Those are
but
bad.
that's because they have a water coating
You're
on it. I
glassing
didn't
if you're
realize
wearing
about
those.
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
you're
If you're
not
stocking, you're not
If
wearing
we could
those.
find a pair of pants as warm as those,
What?
but yeah.
Pantses? If we can find a pantses? Yeah.
If we could find a pair of pants that were as warm as those, but didn't have the darn water coating on it, that's my pant. I still
thought
have
you
yet to
found
found
those
that
in
pant.
Kuyu.
No, so I double checked. I have the same Kuyu Attack, I think, is the heavier
Yes.
one. Those are still not as warm as my Proas pants.
They also, you can't hear them from 4 miles away also.
Yeah,
What?
but
do you,
now
do
they
you
have
wear
the
the
new.
thermals?
I do. I don't think they're thick enough.
Why don't you buy some heavier therms?
So I did.
buy a pair
The problem
of the
is my
zip-offs?
pants are too tight.
I did.
Guys, I'm gonna
So-
give you a pro tip. Jack, you got thermals?
Yeah, of
What do you
course.
got?
Under Armour.
It's trash.
No.
It's trash.
Well, they're not
They're trash.
sponsoring us.
Yeah.
No, but Kuyu makes a zip-off pair of thermals.
I even own them.
So
now. James
picture
owns
this,
them.
you dress in the morning, you go out, you're glassing, you hike your first hill, once the sun comes up,
Sweating your
You're
ass
hot.
off. Yeah.
okay? Drop your pants,
Unzip.
those.
not your
Unzip.
boots,
Yeah.
unzip the thermals, pull your
Flip
pants
out
back
the
up,
GoPro.
yeah,
and bloop.
and you're ready.
That's nice.
Super nice, because taking your
That's
boots
nice.
off
That's a huge
in
hassle.
the hill,
That's
one,
hassle.
it's time consuming,
Yep.
two, you're guaranteed to get at least 1.5 thorns in there,
At least.
and one little rock,
At least.
and that's on the minimum.
I will
So-
say this for the zip offs. Number one, I think that's a great idea. I wanted to bring them to Utah. Unfortunately, I couldn't find them, and then I found them when I got back.
Sitting on
so,
right on top of his bed.
So I do have them, but I will say having the ability to not take your boots off is really important.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I was really set on my next set of hunting boots having the boas, so I could just pop them and take them off super fast. Then it's not an issue so much, right? If you don't have to unlace.
Yeah.
It's not.
The
it's less
Danner
time.
doesn't make the boas. The only brand I found that made some boots that I was like, those could be pretty good, are the Irish Setters that had the boas, and they
Under Armour
look.
had 'em.
They did. I don't think they do anymore,
No?
but the Irish Setters look good. I read some reviews. People said they got tore up crazy quick. I already tear up my boots pretty quick, hiking on rocks and stuff. But if you
Even
try
the extra 30 seconds, you might
boots,
save
let
15
me know.
seconds in undoing and 15 seconds in redoing them. You still got to take the shoe
Yeah.
off.
For
put
me,
the
it's
shoe
the
back
convenience
on.
of not having to like. I won't sit down anywhere. Like I got to
Yeah.
find a semi-flat rock.
you do.
You know?
You do. Matt is a
Look at-
comfort guy.
But it proves itself. You know, we're joking kind of on the comfort, but I think it's huge.
No,
I
absolutely.
think
It is.
I think being comfortable
Yeah.
glassing, whether it's in the chair, if you can manage to hike a chair up, that's not going to be super loud. A pad, a flat rock. Take time to like pick out some of the rocks before you sit down for 2 hours. Otherwise, you're doing this, you know, for 2 hours that you're
Making
there.
noise.
You're not comfortable.
And
You're
your
not going to want to stay there.
Your quag is way worse. Your quality of glass.
Mm,
That's
Quag.
terrible.
No, that's what I call
That's
it. It's
terrible.
way worse because you're fidgeting. You're
Sure.
not able to be
You're
there.
not focused.
And I've talked about this a bazillion times, but like so many guys think that it's glassing to walk up to the top of a hill, go like this, and then hike to the next
That
ridge.
ain't
To
no.
me, that's not glassing.
No, it's
Like
not.
you got to spend
You
that
might get
time,
lucky.
and spending
But
that
odds are
time.
you're not.
Right.
Spending that time, to your point, is so much easier if you're comfortable in your
Yeah.
seat, in your clothing. And guess
Which
what?
is warmth too.
That's
Yes.
also true with sitting a tree stand, sitting a
Mhm.
ground blind. How much harder is it to sit if your toes are freezing off?
Your
Which
glove,
I have
your,
had
your,
happen.
Your toes, your fingers, you know,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
you're just less likely to. It's already hard. You're already tired. You've already been hiking. You already want to just, you know, people don't want to sit for very long naturally. We're just conditioned to just go, go, go. But if you can be comfortable in your seat and then in your clothing and be warm, and then, you know, a lot of the
I will
stuff,
pay whatever it
a lot of
takes
this
to do
stuff has
that.
a money aspect to it, which,
Yeah.
you know, so Albus.
He's the star of the show, by the way.
Albus is
Someone
great.
left a comment
Come here.
and they said, I'm very impressed you found a couch to match the dog.
No, it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I thought that was
Come
a
here.
great comment.
Yeah.
You know, but if you can like, all right, let me throw this question. You have two things in your equipment cache that you can spend, that you're gonna devote your money to.
Mm.
I don't want to
Like
like
set
start
limit
listing
or anything?
things. What's that?
Two
Is that like a
things.
set limit
That's
or
a good
anything?
one.
No, I'm just saying if you're gonna choose two things that
To
you're
blow
gonna
money
spend
on.
the money on.
Yeah.
You know, so that could be like you could buy a quad because it's easier for you to ride a quad than hike somewhere, for example.
Yeah.
What are the two things? Clothing, bow, optics, boots. What are you spending money on?
Is this
What we're
to
gonna
be
do-
successful on hunts?
that you think from your experience will give you the best chance of being successful? We're gonna start here.
All right. For me, I think the two most
Do we
important
need to explain or
things.
just name the two?
Well, we'll see where the
Yeah.
conversation trickles.
Yeah, I'll give a little feedback maybe after we loop through. But for me, number one, without question, is a good tripod.
Mhm.
For me, that you should definitely spend the money to get a good tripod.
Or just
that
a tripod for a lot of
a
people.
tripod.
You know, but yes.
You start with a tripod, but a good tripod. Shout out to Vanguard is what I like. But
Shout
having
out
a good
to
tripod
Vortex.
is key. Second, I like that you said Polaris because that I was gonna say binoculars is a second choice, but
No.
honestly, I might go something like a Polaris Ranger for the second. So a tripod and a Ranger because the Ranger, although I'm not scared to put in miles and I'm cool to do it, the fact that you could drive further out on a road than someone in a Chevy 1500 or whatever,
And then hike
and
further
then
in.
hike from there
Yeah.
just opens up so much opportunity.
Huge.
So for me, I'll say a Polaris or some sort of side-by-side and a good tripod.
All right. Agree.
I would say I'm gonna go definitely Polaris or side by side or quad. Because if we're talking like, now I don't know, we didn't specify is this money like if someone was gonna, if I didn't have to pay the money, like
I mean, like, you know, it's not like ridiculous, but like, you know, it's hunting equipment. You gotta spend it. Yeah. If you're gonna be in the sport.
If I had the money.
If you had the money.
It would be a side by side for sure.
Okay.
Just seeing the places in Arizona we can get further than we can with a car, and then hike the rest of the way in. Vastly changes what we were seeing.
Okay. So number one is
side by side.
Access.
Number 2 for me is comfort, so it's clothing. I would blow so much money on a summer set of clothes, a winter set of clothes, boots, summer boots, winter boots, the under gear, the over gear, the rain gear, all of it, because I think it plays, again, for me, if I'm a bitcher and moaner, it plays a factor in comfort, like throughout the day, like how much are you distracted thinking about how cold you, and granted maybe some people don't get as cold as like I do, but if I can focus less on how uncomfortable I am, I'm gonna be happy. Like, especially again, I'm gonna go back to Kuyu, like these merino wools that you cannot, like, you could sweat your ass off in them, and eventually it'll smell.
Right. But wool has that natural odor resistance, which is, that's kind of like a double, because now you're also comfortable in that, but you're also now more successful on the stalk.
Yeah, you're eliminating scent.
So
it doesn't hold it in. It washes out better. Other shirts that I have, I could wash them.
Yeah. No, once it's
still
locked.
not. Yeah.
All right. So we got a tripod, and we got a side by side. We got a side by side, and we got clothing. Jack.
I'm gonna go glass. That's probably the
Optics.
number one thing that I would say is crucial. I hunted in just this past September. I was up in Montana elk hunting with my uncle, and I have these Vortex Crossfires, lowest end Vortex you can have.
They're good.
And he's got the razors, and I was looking through my glass and I'm like, oh, look at that spike over there, and he's like, Jack, that's not a spike, that's like a 7-point bowl. And yeah. So I mean, it's pretty important to have good glass. And then the second thing I would definitely say is a wind checker. Even though that's not expensive, but it is key.
Super key.
You can buy all the scent products or scent killers or whatever. It doesn't do anything.
Nope.
I mean,
You gotta be down.
It's just wind.
Facts.
That's great.
Facts.
Yeah.
That was a great round.
Yeah.
It was.
What
about you?
No, I asked the question. You know the question. That's a classic. Back to the day. Let me just ask this: if you had to pick between quality of glass and we'll say like distance, what is there a better word for that? Magnification. My bad. What are you picking?
Quality for sure.
Quality.
I have 3 sets of glass that I use. So I have the 7 power Zeiss, is very high end binocular, and then I have the 25 powers that are lower end, and then I have the spotter, which those are both fine, but they're not the Zeiss. But you guys both know I spend most of my time even looking ridiculous distance with the 7 powers, and then I use those to further assess what I find. So I think having at least one set, whatever your primary is going to be, I think should be high end.
Right.
As high end as you can afford.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, the higher magnification, you're really only using it to see what the buck is, what the bull is. That I think you can, save some money if you want to.
So you had what? What are the mags you have?
So I have 7, 25, and then I think it's 20 through 60.
Okay. What do you have?
I have a 10 and a 15.
Okay, Jack.
I have a 4.
A 4.
A 4 power.
Jack likes to get
No, it's
close.
not 4. Your binos, they're not 4 power.
Your cell phone's got more zoom than that, though.
It's not 4 power. I guarantee you.
You don't think so?
No, it's at least 8. Vortex, I don't think
Vortex
makes
is
It
a
doesn't
4.
make a
They actually
You
might
pro-
make a 4, but your crossfire
I'm
is
gonna
probably
check, but I'm
8.
Jack
pretty
is
Could be
crazy bastard.
Could be an 8.
So I have a 10.
I don't know. The thing is wore off of him by now, so-
Probably an 8.
Yeah,
Probably.
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 I have a 10, an 18, and then the
The
spotter.
18s are nice.
Mhm.
And then
See, I
18
can't
by
use the spotter. I
56
can't do the
tabs.
one eye thing.
You're
No.
only using it for
Yeah.
just to be jolly about looking at a
Right.
nice dandy buck.
I will.
I'm not scanning with the spotter.
Now, see, I would like a spotter if I put my, what's that thing that I finally
Mags
gave
scope.
up and bought on? Yeah.
Oh, you bought it finally?
I did, yeah. I need to
No,
buy
You
a.
gotta stop enabling him.
What do you mean?
I will say
Oh,
this.
so he goes and buys them himself?
Hold on. I would.
Yeah,
I
for
would.
the group.
I will say this.
Tax write-off.
I will say this. Glassing matters a lot less on your equipment and more so on how much you practice the skill.
That's true.
And how little time you're on your phone.
Mm.
So many people in the glass waste way too much time on their phone.
Not anymore.
And this is going to kill your results when glassing. So to me, you don't have to go buy a set of $2,000 ice.
I'd say don't.
Yeah, you don't even have to, right? I've had mine for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, I've had them a long, long time, and she jokes they look like they're from the Holocaust. They do look old, but they're really, really good
I
binos.
don't know if that's a good
But
joke to
just
make right
work on
Yeah.
the... Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm getting canceled again.
now. You know?
What are our thoughts on
No.
Bowdisciples
No.
getting canceled
Oh.
several
Oh,
times?
okay. Okay.
What do we think about me getting canceled a few times?
It's fake news.
Yeah, it's fake.
Yeah.
8s are in fact the lowest.
Yeah, I
in
think
case we're all curious.
You can't get canceled if you don't care about getting canceled.
Fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta let this
Keep it
cancel.
on.
Let
Yeah.
them cancel.
You let it happen.
Whatever.
Let it happen.
Lose monetization.
Oh, you can't let that happen.
Yeah. Pick up
Can't
some
let that
sponsors.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We're talking about it. Brianna's a big sponsor gal.
Yes,
Me,
I
not
am.
a big sponsor guy. But this year we might do a couple.
No. The glassing, like you said, the glassing is predominantly your time behind them.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be an expensive pair. Could you tell, like, and I think it's a lot of eyes too, and your experience. Like,
Yes.
you can tell through your 7s, you know,
Ridiculous.
this side of the rack versus that side with a drop here, this, that. And I can't see that with my 18s. You just have the eyes for it. You know, so it's either, some people maybe just have better eyes for that, and then yours are also trained to see it or
Yeah.
when to look and when you can tell based on the, you know, where it's looking.
Right.
But me buying expensive glass with more magnification isn't going to make a difference in me knowing there's a buck over there. Especially at my position in hunting, that's an handy enough buck to go get. I know it's at that bush. I can go get it now.
Right.
Or
Doesn't
try.
Yeah,
Try.
Right. More definitely try. I don't need to know, you know,
Right.
if it's got a cool spot here.
17 pointer.
It's
It's
got a
got
star on
a
it,
drop
no.
tine
No.
and a crazy
You don't need to
double
know that.
brow. Yeah.
If you want to get to that later, or if you're rich, sure, go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
But
And that's the thing too. Like, it depends on
budget.
what you want to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
I could spend more money on hunting gear, but I just I don't see the need
It's
to in a lot of
unnecessary.
cases.
Works for you.
Just the main thing is always going to be the key hunting. Time in the field.
Yeah.
And getting as best as you can while you're out there, learning every single time, progressing a little bit, getting a little bit better. That is going to make a bigger difference than any fancy camo you buy, any fancy tent you buy, any binocular, any bow. A lot of people,
bow.
a lot of people are like, man, I got to get a flagship bow. I'm shooting this Diamond 320. I'm like, the Diamond 320, I could have smoked a lot of stuff with the same bow.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's under 40 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people chase bows.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's like iPhones.
Me included.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure, for
Well,
sure.
you're two
Yeah.
in, you know.
Like
but
iPhones is a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The iPhone, it used to be back in the
Android
day,
guy.
the difference between phones was huge. You know, from the Samsung S5
Right.
to the S7 was a huge difference. But nowadays,
Not
from
much.
the iPhone 14 to the 15 is like,
No.
all they did was make it tie. Other than
and you
that,
had to
it's...
spend more money to buy a new charging cable.
Mhm.
Exactly. So,
Yep.
a lot of good stuff,
Yeah.
and BDP too. That's a wrap.
I think it was a good pod.
It was a great pod.
Thank you. Get the
That
merch,
was no
bowdisciples.com, and tune in. More pods. This guy might be on sometimes. He might be on sometimes. She might be on
Yeah, if
sometimes.
you're curious,
Maybe I'll be on
if you're
sometimes.
curious, should we just maybe sprinkle out some of the future guests we might?
Yeah,
have?
go for it.
We're gonna be looking to have Tove on, Tove a legend in the channel.
Legend.
So Ted's gonna be coming on. We're gonna have Paul. Paul was featured in a video from the
Bowdisciples
Bowdisciples Challenge where he had some very humorous lines
Oh,
Some of
yeah.
the best.
towards my size.
Some of the best.
Who else?
Well,
might be making an appearance. if
Whitney
she comes
gonna
out
be
here.
on here.
So-
Maybe some local cats.
I think you got to get Bruce on.
Bruce.
Bruce is gonna be
Yeah.
in here. We'll have some
Bruce
big
in my
dogs.
house.
We'll get some other other YouTube influencers on here as
Yeah.
well. Shout out to the YouTubers. We'll get some of them on. So
Yeah.
that'll be a lot of fun. But appreciate
Albus
these
is-
guys.
Albus will be here every time.
Every time.
But that's a wrap. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in BDP3.